Hey guys, this is day 28 of the Rogue Tanks devlog. I'm going to go over what I've added that's new, and then I'll show you how I did it in the code. On the menus now, I have sound effects. So now you can hear sound effects when you're doing these things. Also, in the controls, I have added these images so you can get an idea of what the controls are by just going to the controls screen, obviously, right? I've also sort of got a way of saving the input. When you quit the game, it'll save what input you had. It says Gamepad 3 there, but that's not a thing. In fact, it was Gamepad 1 at first because ordinarily it defaults to keyboard and mouse, but I changed it to save what your input is, and I'll show you guys how I did that in the code. But this right here is actually it's still kind of a work in progress because of stuff like that, where it saves like a invalid input. But it does have like a fallback where player one will always be something. Like player one should default to something that is valid, at least. Maybe not the other players, but at least player one. There we go. You can see right up there, Frenemy Fire, mission complete. So if we back out to the main menu here, look at the records, you can see this was just completed. And I'll show you what I did to make all of that happen. Also, I've got these 3 other achievements that I've added. Simply Explorer, which is finding all the levels in the campaign. Destroyer, defeating 1,000 enemies, which honestly, that's actually kind of low. If we look at my records here, I cleared 1,000 pretty quickly, and I haven't even beaten the campaign with all the tanks yet in this save file. So maybe I'll increase that to something. I think 10,000 is too much. That would just lead to it becoming a grindy mission. So maybe something in between like 2,000 or maybe 5,000 at most. I'm still debating with myself what that number should be. And then I have Hoarder, which is holding 10 of the reroll coins at once. So those reroll coins, those red coins in the levels, you have to go out of your way to at least grab them, but then you can't use them. At least grab 10 of them without using them. And it doesn't have to be in a row. If you want to go straight to the notification system for the missions, I have a new code here, or new script, which it automatically pulls this with object game. So it references variables and arrays that are in the game object. And I have this with object game because other things are going to be calling this script, like the player or an enemy. However the mission is triggered will determine what object is calling this script. So I just have it use this with object game call right up front. And you have to, when you call this function, you have to input a number, and this number should be like what mission number you are claiming is completed. So first it checks right here. If that achievement number is false, meaning it hasn't been achieved yet, then it changes to true, and then there is this list. Notices is a list, and notices is how the display happens. So if the list is empty, meaning there's nothing being displayed yet, then it plays the sound of the ding, which is the notification that a mission has just been completed, and then it adds this missions array argument number to the notices list. So this missions, if we go back to the object game, missions right here is actually this array of names of missions. So this is just a bunch of strings that is the name of the mission that you completed. So when this script is adding to the list of notices, it's adding that string name. The name of the mission is being added in. That's all it's really doing. The achievement has already been set to true, and the reason I have this if achievement is false in here is because the player will likely have the conditions met for the achievement forever after they've done it. So it checks to make sure it's false first before it goes through this notification system. Otherwise, it would be popping up forever. So this list of notices, if we go back to object game, into the draw GUI event, there's this new section here where if this list is not empty, the notices list, and if notice time is less than 60 times 4, which is 4 seconds, as my game is fixed at 60 frames per second, then notice time plus plus, which is just 1 per frame, and then it goes ahead and draws the box, and then it draws the text right here, string notices 0 plus mission complete. So it displays the name. This right here converts string. I mean, this should already be a string. I don't know if I need the string conversion in here, but I have it just in case anyway. And this is the weird syntax for referencing a spot in a list. It's this bracket plus this line and then the number of the slot. And it's always going to be 0 because if multiple achievements are achieved at one time, then down here, if notice time is greater than 4 seconds, notice time gets reset back to 0. The list deletes from notices. The notices list deletes slot 0, meaning what's at the top of the list. And then if the list is not empty, play the ding sound again, and it repeats up to here, because if list is not empty, then it goes through displaying the next one. So basically, if multiple things get added to the list, there's multiple things in the list, it'll just repeat this statement. Which is why in the mission complete script, I have first, if list is empty, play the ding sound. Because for the loop, if this is the first thing being added, it makes a ding. You don't want it, I don't want it to ding every time something gets added to the list. Instead, every time after the first thing is added, because when the first thing is added, it gets displayed immediately. And then there's a 4-second wait until the next thing will get displayed. And that's when it checks if list is empty after deleting the thing it just displayed. If there's more to display, it plays the ding sound there. And that is really it. It's actually a lot simpler of a system than I thought it would be. I thought making a notification system would be difficult, but this was actually simpler than I expected. As for the menu sound effects, previously I had pointed out that I had a batch of lines right here that just said if the player input is up, down, left, right, confirm, cancel, you would play the respective sound effect, regardless of anything else. And I thought that would be a simpler way of doing the sound effects, but it turns out that is not the way you want to do it. The reason for that is because, for example, in the tank select screen, if you have more than one player, and one player has picked their tank and the other person hasn't yet, then the player who has picked their tank can still press like left, right, up, down, and the sound effect will still play. And I don't want that to happen. I want them to realize that when they've picked their tank, they don't really move anything else. Basically, I don't want sound effects playing when things aren't happening. And so, in order to get that to work, I had to move my sound effects to more specific places. For example, in the title screen, I do have a simple if confirm or cancel or up or down, then play the respective sound effect. But that's because in the title screen, there's never a situation where if the player presses something, something isn't going to happen. Now, I don't have a left or right input then play sound effect because there's no left or right actions to take on the title screen menu. But if we scroll down here to the settings, there's going to be a lot more nuance. So I have the sound effect play for up, down. Those are pretty standard. But then left or right is all going to be dependent on where the cursor is, because left or right could be increasing a value like the sound or music levels, and in here it checks if it's valid of an action to increase the sound effect. So if you get to the max of the sound effect level, you can't increase it anymore, and therefore you can't hear the cursor sound effect anymore. So you can hear, let me turn down the music. You can hear right now that as I move it left or right, it will in fact change it'll play the cursor sound effect. Obviously you don't hear it if sound effects are muted. You don't hear anything. But as we get to the top and get to 100%, if I press right anymore, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to increase and it's not going to play that sound effect, which is why I moved the play sound to this if condition. And it's a similar situation with the player tank select. Actually, back to the achievement mission complete notification system. One more thing I forgot to mention. If we go to where some achievements are obtained, these code blocks right here used to be setting the achievement to true. Instead, it's just calling the script mission complete. Because inside the script of mission complete, it then checks if this is the first time it's been completed or not. So it's actually a very simple coding structure to just throw in if the conditions are met, then run the script of mission complete. And I think all of these mission complete script calls are in situations that aren't constantly running too. Like this section of code is run at the end of a level, which is where it unlocks the level for versus mode, and then it checks for achievements completed. And I think that is it. If you want any more specific details on anything I've covered here, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.